Okay, the play-in tournament is almost wrapped up. In the early game, you had the Bulls versus the Raptors headlining Diar DeRozan's free throw
Okay,
defense.
so Diar, by the way, that's the first person I've never met another Diora. This is the closest I've come to.
Really?
I've met Dior's, but I've never heard
You've
Dior.
met Dior's?
Yeah, you've never met someone named Dior? Yeah, like the Christian Dior, like that type of as a first name. But set that aside. If you didn't watch, DeMar DeRozan's daughter screamed every time the Raptors shot a free throw. Now we go to Nets games and there's that old man, the Mr. Whammy, who tries to jinx the opposing team. And statistically, it actually seems to have a tiny effect. This appeared to have a massive effect. The Raptors missed 18 free throws of their 36, half of them. And so now, before we get to the other game, the more interesting game, this is where I'm going to give the controversial opinion. You guys can start the clock and throw the rundown up there because we're going. We're off and running. This is where I'm going to give an unpopular take.
Uh-oh.
The NBA's got to step in. You can't let this happen again.
What do you mean?
You can't have little kids screaming.
You so can.
Okay, so here's the thing. Again, I said it's going to be unpopular. I'm going to use what's going to sound like an odd analogy. The Philadelphia Eagles this year, en route to the Super Bowl, kind of hacked the quarterback sneak. They put the Jalen Hurts, their quarterback, in the backfield. They then get two guys behind him, and they all push him in a rugby scrum. The NFL had the opportunity to outlaw that this offseason. They didn't. They're like, the Eagles are good at it. Other teams can catch up. Why outlaw it? Here's why you outlaw it. Because if any team gets good enough at that, to where instead of getting 2 yards every time, they get 4 yards every time, the sport is ruined. You just run the most boring, aesthetically unpleasing play imaginable, a rugby scrum, all the way down the field. You obviously can't have that. That's obviously bad for business. So the NFL, in my opinion, should jump in. One little girl at one playoff game, one time, screaming at every free throw, no problem. But it worked. If all of a sudden now, every NBA broadcast, every NBA game you go to, whenever the opposing team is shooting free throws, all the children in the crowd are screaming at the top of their lungs, that ain't good for business.
That's a sports game, though.
A sports game. I understand.
No, that's what happens at sports games. Like, you can't just decide that, like, nah, the free speech is over. Like, it's
you
done.
Can, though. You can. It is entertainment enterprise, and it's bad for television. It's bad for the paying customer.
But it's entertaining for the people that are at the game.
Here's the thing. I don't think it would be. I think it would be maddening.
So, or like at high school games. Like, I know it's like not even close to the same level.
Yeah.
But everyone screams on free throws.
Yeah. And it's maddening. This is actually the example I'm using. The high school people, students that are...
I totally disagree with you on this.
Well, you know what? I said it was going to be an unpopular opinion. This is one of those unpopular opinions I have that I know is right. Today, everyone is going to be applauding Diar DeRozan, and they should. She helped her dad. She's adorable. It was a great job by her. I'm telling you, and I don't usually like the slippery slope argument, but if this turns into a trend...
It already is a trend.
But not, again, I think you've got to see the actual video from the game. It's not regular yelling or trying to distract the opponent. It is a shrill, childlike scream. I'm going to use another child example that it was an unpopular opinion involving children of NBA players. And I did it 8 years ago, and I was proven correct. So, Steph Curry kind of started this trend. I'm going to bring my adorable children, at the time it was just one kid, Riley, to my press conferences. Everyone loved it. Steph was the face of the league. He was always winning. He had this amazing little girl sitting with him at press conferences. We all thought, or everyone seemed to think, this is great. And I had the brave, unpopular opinion, yeah, you're at work, probably not the time to have your little kid at the podium. Nick, why do you think that? Well, after you win a championship, no problem. Even after you win a game and everyone's applauding you, no problem. But I saw the train coming down the tracks of guys who team had just lost or were embroiled in a slight controversy or had played poorly, bringing their children to their press conferences, and there being a chilling effect from the media on what questions can I ask the guy about the game losing
probably why
turnover.
they did it.
Exactly, that's why they did it. Which is, it was...
Can't be mean to me, my kids with
exactly me. Right. Using
that's
children
just fine.
as a shield. It is not fine. I can't... Now, I actually did this as a gag once, but I can't... Nick doesn't like kids anywhere. I love children, but I'm telling you,
really doesn't.
I can't, the day after, let's say the Warriors were to win the title this year, and I look like a fool. I can't show up at First Things First with Deanna on my lap. Like, oh, guys, you can't make fun of me. My kids are here. Now, when the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl, I actually did start the TV show exactly like that, as a gag. Like, I called it pulling the Steph Curry. But I'm just telling you, just, guys, everyone right now is going to say this is a terrible opinion. Let's just wait and see how the rest of these playoffs play out. And if all of a sudden you're watching a game, you're like, God dog it. They won't stop screaming. Just remember who was first on it. All right. What's the other game the more interesting game we have to talk about? Go ahead.
Okay. And Josh Giddey, who I'm supposed to say Timothy Chalamet, but he looks nothing like Timothy Chalamet.
See, I thought he did look like Timothy Chalamet, but that's fine. But go ahead.
Anyways.
Josh Giddey nearly a triple-double.
That was my line.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I didn't know if you knew where we were in the script. Go ahead.
I know where
What's
we were.
your question?
Which of these teams has the best chance at making the playoffs?
Oh, I think the Thunder. I think the Heat are going to beat the Bulls. I like the Thunder's team. I mean, Shea was excellent. Shea's been all NBA caliber all year. Giddey's a good player. Now, none of these teams have a great chance in the 8-versus-1 against Milwaukee or Denver. But I do think Oklahoma City could cause some problems for Denver that Minnesota couldn't. And I got to give Oklahoma City credit. Everyone killed Sam Presti for tanking and all of it. Man, they made the playoffs a few years ago with Chris Paul. They are now, in the bubble, they made the playoffs. They then had 2 years in the wilderness. And now they are a game away from being back in the playoffs. They have all these future picks. They will have Chet, who I'm not a believer in, but they will have Chet coming back. And Shea is a legit top 12 player in the league now. Legit. And Giddey's really good. So I like you look at their team, they actually, oddly, Dior, have 2 rookies named Jalen Williams. One is the same exact name. The good Jalen Williams is really good.
The good Jalen.
Well, the other one's fine, but
that's like how I have Steph Curry and then Baby Curry.
Well, yeah, except they're not, except they have different names. These 2 guys have the exact same name and they play for the same team.
The same name.
Steph and Seth. Yeah, but at least they play for different teams. But you're right. There's one is awesome and the other's just a fine player. But the good Jalen Williams with no Y, is going to finish top 3 in Rookie of the Year. They have Chet coming back. I like Lou Dort. I like what they're building in OKC. I would like to see them beat the Timberwolves and see where they can go from there. Hey, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button to get more from the show and make sure to click the bell to get notified every time new content drops. Check out full episodes of What's Right wherever you get your podcasts, or just click the link in the description below.